This summer, we've had a really fun theme. We built our theme around the Vacation Bible School theme, which was road trip on the go with God. And during our summer road trip, we've kept our eyes on Jesus, who is the king of the road. We have checked our longings for travel, spiritual travel. We have checked the calling, listening to the calling. We've been bold. We've been curious. And this last week, we're going to check on a packing list. Every journey has a packing list. So we need to have a packing list for the spiritual journey. These are things we need to have and things we want to be sure and leave behind. This is a very big day for our church, a very big day. I think it's been many, many decades since we had a major gifts campaign to help us launch our future securely. And today we are on the amazing road to the future. We are relishing the day-to-day liveliness and joy and delight. And we are saying, we think that our community and our children and our children's children ought to have this too. So we're doing that. And so we're going to check today on what we need for that journey into our personal spiritual future and this church's spiritual future. You will have noticed, I'm sure, that Jesus does not have a packing list, really, for his disciples. He tells them not to take extra clothes. He tells them to take a stick because sometimes you get tired and weary and sometimes you need someone to poke you. He doesn't sit down with them and say, now here's the map and I'm going to deploy each of you in a different way. There were no goals, no strategies, no objectives. Jesus just gives the disciples a mission and the authority to carry it out. Which, if you've read the Gospels, is kind of funny because the disciples, a more bumbling, confused crowd of people, you can't imagine. But they did have what they needed, a mission, and the knowledge that the authority of Jesus went with them. Now, none of us would ever think to go on a significant journey without adequate preparations. We need a packing list. There are 927,000 Google hits if you want to Google travel essentials. And almost none of them are travel essentials. Confession. I print out a hard copy of everything when I travel. I never need it, I never use it, but I print out a hard copy of everything when I travel. And when I'm not traveling, I read travel articles because I'm always dreaming about travel. And I got to tell you, some people have an odd idea of what is a travel essential. Here's one: teeny tiny travel scissors. I know, right? I listened to this influencer explain for 5 minutes why I needed teeny tiny travel scissors. I mean, I'm sure you might find a use for them if you could remember where you put them, right? Or here, there's a story here. Anybody know what this is? Yep, it's a travel door lock. Okay, I read an article. There's a theme here, And I read an article, and it said it was an article about travel essentials for single older women traveling solo. And it said you really need an extra door lock. You can't trust the doors in hotels, and particularly Airbnbs. And I thought, well, that is a good idea. That is a great idea. The problem was I couldn't figure it out before I left home. And then I took it with me anyway and left the directions at home. And then I never really had a chance to use it because when I got to the Frankfurt airport and I was going on to Turkey, the TSA person took it away because they couldn't figure out what it was either. And I couldn't explain it in German, and I guess it looked threatening to them. They left me my corkscrew. And this. Seriously, I don't even iron at home. So, for all our carefully considered plans, it is doubtful that we are prepared for what is going to happen to us. And so we want to prepare ourselves, do the soul care to be like the disciples, know what our mission is, and be confident in the authority that Jesus has given us. So here's what I think the disciples packed that let them be prepared for that mission. The matchless authority of God. Now, the point is preparedness, not planning. And that's how we travel most of the road of our life. In a spiritual sense, we prepare more than we plan. Now, I'm not suggesting you don't plan. People who don't plan for their retirement don't have one. But that's different than being prepared. Right? That's a spiritual thing. And if our spiritual journey is going to be more about dialogue than dogma, more about the journey than the destination, then we're going to have a different kind of packing list. Here is a terrible packing list for a good spiritual life. If you want to have a good spiritual life, this is what you want to leave behind. Do not pack this. I've never done it that way before. I'm not ready for that. I'm all right without trying that. This is okay if someone tries to feed you monkey brains, but short of that. I tried it once before. I don't have the money for that. Sometimes that's true. That is not my job. Something like that could never work. I have a better list for the spiritual journey that is the road trip of life if you want to go with God. First, we need God's guidance and wisdom. This is the foundation for all of it. Your relationship to God is what will get you all the way down the road trip of your life. When we do as the proverb suggests, the human mind plans the way, but the Lord directs the steps. If we do what the proverb suggests, we get what the psalm promises. God will not let your foot be moved. The one who keeps you will not slumber. The next most important thing are partners, traveling companions, fellowship, community. When Jesus sends the disciples out, he sends them in pairs. And there's probably a whole sermon in there, but the basic point is you're not on your own and you're not the star of the show. You're not on your own. You're not the star of the show. There's no one particular charismatic personality. He doesn't say, you two are going to go together and you're going to lead and you're going to follow. They're there together for support and to make sure that they keep each other on track with their mission. Now, as a church, we are today launching a huge, big vision for our future. We've been leading up to it. There's been some mailings for you, and people have been talking in church, and there'll be 3 or 4 or 6 weeks more of lots of stuff. And we did that as a team. We have a major gifts campaign team. And I hadn't been at this church but about 6 months, and I was having a conversation with my lay leader, who was Thad Sanford, and had been the lay leader for I think 84 years, and he has a history with both corporate work and in the military. And he said the military. He told me this. And I tell everybody I know. I listened. Just this one time. Just this one. Yeah, right. Just this one time. Just this one time. And apparently the military did some studies and found that teams make better decisions than solo deciders. However much our culture admires solo people who go out and do something daring, people who make executive decisions, and on TV they're always right? It always turns out great when the one person goes against the whole team and then they turn out to be right. But in real life, that doesn't work. And we have a big team, not just the major gifts team, for helping us lay the foundation for the next big chapter. We have a staff, amazing staff. The choir, the folks who donate to the Pathways of Hope food drive that we have on the second Saturday, yesterday. the ones who roll burritos on Saturdays, the care team, the prayer team, and the folks who make coffee, the ones who work at the tech desk back there, making the sound and the lights and the show go on. And you, sitting here with someone you love, or thinking about someone you love, praying for the lost, the least, the lonely, the left out, and the left behind. Here's another set of character traits that I think really help us on our spiritual journey. Flexibility and attentiveness. Flexibility and attentiveness. If you're not paying attention when you travel, you will get pickpocketed. So, that's why you stay alert. Flexibility, paying attention, adaptability. Somebody once said to me, never marry someone you haven't traveled with, because travel is intensified learning. And you want to know if someone you're going to have a significant friendship or a relationship with, or you're going to marry, you want to know how they handle unexpected changes of plan. Are they flexible? Can they pivot? Or do they fly off the handle? Or do they panic? Are they flexible? Sometimes, it seems like there are people who are just trying to get from birth to death with the least amount of effort and the least amount of inconvenience as possible. And I just feel like those people aren't really living. And these are the people who will drive around and around and around the parking lot to get the absolute closest parking place for their trip to the gym and their workout. There are people who make plans, and then when the flight gets canceled, they have a temper tantrum. Or if the hotel they reserved turns out to back up next to the train tracks, they fly into a rage and pace all night. Life is a journey that needs flexibility and adaptability and creativity and paying attention. Don't sleep through the journey of life. Look out the window of the train or the car or the plane. Around here, we like to say, live generously. I feel like all of Jesus' teachings and life can just be summed up in live generously. And to live generously, we need wonder and curiosity. We need wonder and curiosity. We do that. We live generously when we live with wonder and curiosity. If you already know everything, if you never change your mind about something you were sure you were never going to change your mind about, you aren't on a journey. You're in a cage. If you're looking to make everything fit in your previously decided parameters, now, I'm not saying your whole life has to be turned upside down, but from time to time, you can feel the resistance. And you need some spiritual maturity to determine whether that resistance is something that is a temptation, an obstacle that needs to be overcome, a temptation that needs to be ignored, or an invitation to turn in a different direction. Living generously means opening your heart and your mind, having a spirit of kindness, caring for the least, the last, and the lost. Now, just so we're clear, in a spiritual sense, packing for the spiritual road trip is the same list as packing for your life at home. What if we packed every day for our spiritual road trip as if we were going on the road, but then kept it at home every day with generosity of spirit, kindness, wonder, curiosity? What if we saw more things as interesting and fewer things as annoying? How might we keep our wide-eyed wonder at God's love and grace and creation? How we travel in the world is much the same as how we travel our life's journey at home with those who love us the most. We are not tour guides on this journey of life, telling everybody where to sit on the bus and to sit down and shut up. But we are also not tourists. We live here. We live on this spiritual journey. And you have everything you need. You have everything you need. It's all there. God has given it to you. Sometimes we need to wake up to it. We need to become aware of it. Richard Rohr is fond of saying, we do not have to practice the presence of God. We have to practice the awareness of the presence of the God that is always there. Have you ever noticed when you're traveling, the small things matter so much? Clean sheets, a good night's sleep, and a hot shower. Things we take for granted at home. A blue sky and sunshine. When you're traveling, that gets you outside. At home, you go, oh, look, another sunny day in California. A day of gray skies and drizzle. And when you're traveling, it's like an excuse to stay in with a cup of hot chocolate. Here at home, it's just an annoyance. Ice cream tastes better when you travel. And when you travel, there's more wild laughter, isn't there? And unashamed tears. And we also need more Tylenol when we travel. Jesus is calling us every day into this spiritual journey. Call it your mission. Call it your ministry. Call it your spiritual life. All of it is a call in two directions. We travel the road inward when we practice prayer and meditation and Bible study, when we develop our own internal spiritual disciplines, when we really work on the inward journey, building our spiritual lives, healing ourselves, teaching ourselves. And the other direction of the Jesus road is outward to our families, our communities of faith, where we perform, as Jesus says, all manner of spirit-empowered healings, feedings, and miracles. You are complete enough and knowledgeable enough, and you were born with everything in your spiritual suitcase that you need to navigate the road with God. You are amazingly enough. There's nothing about your life God can't use. And it is my prayer that every one of you will experience that today. Amen.